Opening a new credit card can be so exciting until you realize you have to spend $5,000 in 3 months to get those bonus points. Well, today I'm going to break down for you exactly some strategies to hit that minimum spend and earn that bonus welcome offer. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Rhoda. If we haven't met, welcome back to my channel. I help you travel the world on points and miles without spending a fortune. So let's dive in. So let's talk about minimum spend today. Maybe that's a term you're not familiar with, so I will break it down for you. Minimum spend is simply the amount of money you need to spend when you open a new credit card to hit those bonus welcome offer points. So minimum spend is simply hitting that amount that the credit card company is asking for in a certain amount of time. This can range very widely. So some are just really low amounts of minimum spend, like $2,000 in 3 months. Others can be, $10, $30, $100,000 in 6 months or a year. So it really just depends on the card. If it's a business card, usually those have a higher minimum spend in a certain amount of time. If it's just a personal card, then that can be lower. So it really varies. And the amount of bonus points you get varies as well. So it really just depends on the credit card. The bonus points is the whole key to opening credit cards for travel. So those bonus points are huge because the amount of points you get for hitting that minimum spend is very significant because it would be hard to hit that amount of points quickly. It probably would take years to hit, 100,000 points if you're not a big spender. If you have a business and you're spending a lot of money, have a lot of expenses, then that may make sense. But for most everyday people, those bonus points are so valuable because you're just not going to get that many points quickly. So, for instance, say like 100,000 points on a card, a welcome offer, bonus welcome offer, hitting that minimum spend to get those 100,000 points is such a big deal because that can be thousands of dollars worth of travel. You could exchange that and transfer it over to an airline, and 100,000 points could get you a couple business class flights. And business class is not cheap. It can be thousands and thousands of dollars. So the value you get from those bonus points is just amazing. You're just not going to get that on your own just by slowly racking up points on a credit card. It's going to take years. So getting those bonus points on that welcome offer is key. So that's why we hit the minimum spend so we can get those bonus points. So one of the things to remember when hitting a minimum spend is that you don't want to just open a card and then realize, oh, I need to spend $10,000 in 3 months. I don't spend $10,000 in 3 months. You want to make sure that the credit card you open lines up with your expenses. The point of opening a card and putting your expenses on it isn't just to buy stuff. That is not the goal here. The goal is to just use that credit card for your everyday expenses. It can be your, putting your phone bill on there. It can be your groceries. If it allows you, put your rent on there. You don't want to go into debt just to hit a minimum spend or be buying all this stuff to hit a minimum spend. That totally defeats the purpose. So you want to think of just your monthly expenses, look at your account and see, okay, how much do I spend in a month? And would that be enough for 3 months or 4 months, whatever the requirement is for the minimum spend? Would I be able to hit the minimum spend without just buying extra stuff? If that's so, awesome. Maybe that's a good fit for you. Another way to hit the minimum spend is if you're a big Amazon shopper, then you can just, once you get that card in the mail, that new card, just put that as your default payment method. So that every time you buy something from Amazon, it just goes on that card. Once again, you don't want to just be buying things to hit a minimum spend. But if you're like, hey, I exclusively buy on Amazon, then go ahead and just put that default payment in, and that will just rack up some easy minimum spend on that card. Okay, so another strategy I want to talk about is if, say you don't have any big upcoming expenses and you see that a minimum spend is, maybe $3,000, $5,000, and you're like, there's just no way I'm going to hit that. Maybe you, live with other people and your rent's super low, your groceries aren't that much, and you're like, I just don't spend that much money. Maybe you're trying to save money and you're like, I don't want to put extra money on a card. Whatever it is, there are some other strategies so that you can still open credit cards and hit minimum spends without just spending a lot of money. So, one of the strategies is if you have close friends and family that you explicitly trust, I want to make that very clear, and that they will pay you back, then you could ask them, hey, would you want me to buy your groceries this month? And then you just pay me back, but that would help me out. I have family that would be like, sure, I don't care, that's great. Or maybe they have a big expense coming up and they're not into points and miles, and you're like, hey, can I put that on my credit card? And then that would really help me get some points. Would you mind doing that? So obviously it has to be the right person, it has to be someone, like I said, you totally trust and that will pay you back. But that is a good way to do it as well. I know people that don't mind at all doing that for me, and it's not a big deal, but you do want to make sure you can trust them. But that's a way to quickly hit a minimum spend if someone else has a large expense and they don't mind putting it on a credit card for you. So another strategy is if your work allows you to get reimbursed for business purchases. So if they do, then it would be great if you could just put all of your work expenses on your personal card and then just submit those receipts to get reimbursed and pay off your card. So that could get you a minimum spend very quickly. Also, another strategy I like to implement is if I know I have a big expense coming up, then I will open a card and have it ready to go to put that expense on it. For instance, if you're moving and you're going to have a rental truck, or you're going to have to, have some extra moving expenses, maybe you're buying new furniture for a place, then that would be a good time to open a card. I'm going to spend about, maybe $3,000 extra because of moving. This would be a good time to open a card and get a ton of welcome offer points. Okay, another strategy to hit a minimum spend is if, say you're out with a group of friends at a restaurant, or maybe you guys are traveling together. If you're like, hey, I will put all of the expenses on my card so that I can hit my minimum spend, and you guys just Venmo me back or Zelle pay me, or however you want to do it. But if you are like going to rent a car together for several days, that could be like $500 easily. Or if you guys are going out to eat a lot, you can just say, hey, I will just put all of the meals on my card, and then I will just text you guys how much you owe me. Can you Venmo me back? So once again, I just want to make it clear, you want to make sure it's a group of friends that you totally trust that is going to pay you back. But that's another way to get, it could be several $1,000s for a trip that you're getting to put on your card. Okay, a couple other examples just to get your mind going, kind of jog some ideas. If your kids are in like a private school or any kind of school that you have to pay tuition for, or if maybe you're in college, if you can ask, can I put my tuition payment on a credit card? You definitely want to check if they have a transaction fee. Some schools do, might be like an extra $60 or something to run that card. So you just have to weigh out, is that worth it to you or not? Like if you can just get your whole minimum spend in one payment, then it might be worth it. So you just have to weigh that out. But that is another strategy. If you can do a tuition payment on a credit card, that's a good way to get a big chunk of the minimum spend right off the bat. So another strategy for hitting a minimum spend is for Christmas time. So obviously, Christmas shopping is a big deal in the US, and a lot of people spend money on gifts. So for instance, if okay, I usually spend a couple $1,000s on Christmas gifts or whatever it is, and this card has a minimum spend of $3,000. Well, could you put all your Christmas shopping on that one card, stuff you're already gonna buy, and then you could not only give a gift to other people, but give yourself a gift of a nice little welcome offer, those bonus points. So it's a good strategy to implement if you're already going to be spending money anyways. Okay, another strategy is to add an authorized user to your card. So this is a little different than just having someone use your card to pay for a purchase, like I explained earlier. That's you using your card to pay for their purchase. But this, as an authorized user, they would literally have their own card with their name on it under your name, which is connected to your card. So say you have a Chase Sapphire Preferred card and you add an authorized user through Chase and you say, okay, whatever, John Smith is an authorized user. He literally gets a physical card, but it's connected to your account. And so it's the same card, it's the same card, but two people each have a card. So any expenses he puts on that card, you are responsible for. So once again, you want to make sure it's someone you totally trust and that will pay you back. A lot of couples do this. Married couples, they have an authorized user. Say like the husband opens a card and then the wife is put as an authorized user. That's a whole another topic for another time, but people do this all the time. So if it's someone you totally trust, then, or if you're a couple that want to hit a minimum spend quickly, then that's a way to do it. A little caveat is that as a couple, there's some other strategies that are better to get you guys more points. So I would say if you're like me, you're just single and you're like, man, I really want to hit this minimum spend, get these bonus points, maybe I would add like my sister or a really close friend that I totally trust. And any expenses that they put on the card, I would just be like, hey, you owe me for, $1,000 for this purchase you made, and then they can just write you a check or give you money or however they want to do it. If they just want to pay it off themselves with you right there on the portal, you can do that. But anyways, it's just a way for someone to be spending money on your card that's not you if you're not able to hit a minimum spend. So adding an authorized user is another way to hit a minimum spend. So another option is if, unfortunately, you have medical bills. So if the hospital or medical center will let you put your payment on a credit card without a transaction fee, then that would be a great way to earn some points for probably not so great situation. At least you're getting some points out of it. I do realize sometimes medical expenses come up unexpectedly, so you may not be able to open a new credit card and then put your expenses on it. But if you already have, say, like a Chase card open and you have a $10,000 medical bill, if you can put your medical bill on that card, that right there, Chase points transfer to Hyatt, you could get like multiple days stay at a Hyatt for that amount, for 10,000 points. And you could easily stay at like a Hyatt house for several days. I've seen them as low as 5,000, 2,500 a night. So, or you could stay at a nicer place one night. So I'm just saying there's a lot of options. There's a lot of flexibility there, and putting your medical expenses on a card would be a great idea. So I hope that gave you some strategies to hit your minimum spend on your next credit card. And of course, once again, don't just open a card if you're not able to hit the minimum spend. You want to make sure you have a strategy in place ahead of time and that you're not left with a card that did not hit a minimum spend and you don't get those welcome bonus points. So I've linked some of my favorite credit cards below if you are interested in opening one that doesn't have too big of a minimum spend. And also I've linked below my how to travel for nearly free guide if you're interested in that. And I hope this was helpful for you today, and we will see you guys on the next one. Au revoir.